we'll do, I'm sure she'll be able to log back in, but just want to thank everybody for signing in and taking the time out of the day to join us today. We have the privilege and honor to have Trevor Garrett from MFS, who has been with MFS for 6 years, and he's going to speak today on Social Security and different claiming strategies. And we're going to, at the end, we are going to allow for some Q&A. So without any further delay, we are going to turn it over to Trevor. And Trevor, if you want to speak a little bit about yourself and then kick into the slide presentation, that would be great.
Awesome. Perfect. Just need to pull this up first and then just confirm that you can see my screen, Rob.
Yep, we can see
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. As Rob mentioned, my name's Trevor Garrett. I work for MFS Investment Management. We're one of the oldest asset managers in the country based out of Boston. So we sell a number of investment products to help build out portfolios. We also deliver education on a variety of financial planning topics, which is what brings me to speak to you all today. So I like to open up these conversations about Social Security by asking everybody out there a question. On a scale of 0 to 100%, how much of your income is Social Security designed to replace? On a scale of 0 to 100%, I know we're in a virtual format today, so just get a number in your head. No need to pop it in the chat or unmute yourself. 0 to 100%. Now, before I give you the answer to that question, I have one more for you. Who out there has taken a look at your Social Security statement? If you haven't, I highly encourage you to do so. Nowadays, it's very easily. You just log on to the Social Security Administration's website. It is ssa.gov. And for those of you who have taken a look at your Social Security statement, I'm sure your eyes gravitated towards your benefit amount at age 62, your full retirement age, and beyond. There's actually a sentence on that piece of paper that often gets overlooked. It's very important to us here at MFS. It's a sentence that reads, Social Security is not designed to be your only source of income in retirement. Because the answer to the question that I opened up with, on a scale of 0 to 100%, Social Security is designed to replace approximately 40% of your monthly income in retirement. And it's really designed to be one of several pieces of your retirement income stream or a puzzle that you put together with your advisors, Margot, Rob, and Dave, who have invited you here today. So in the next 20 to 25 minutes, we're going to cover 3 topics. Number 1 is going to be your retirement benefit. This is if you have your own benefit, the importance of your full retirement age, as well as how we can maximize that. Secondly, we're going to get into claiming strategies if you are currently or ever were married. And then lastly, we'll briefly touch upon taxes, round it out and open it up for some question and answers. So before we take a dive into the slides, I'll answer the most popular question that I get asked on Social Security. That's, is Social Security going to be there when my time comes? Because if you're reading about Social Security in the news, it tends to be a negative headline. The reason you're going to read about negative things on Social Security is, number 1, because you need to remember that these are media companies that are posting the articles, and fear sells. If they were to write an article with a headline, Social Security fully solvent, no delays to payments expected, they wouldn't generate a lot of website traffic or clicks. So keep this in mind when you're reading a website title. As it stands today, Social Security, the trust that pays out all of those benefits, it's fully funded through the year 2033. So what happens when we reach this point sometime in early 2024 when Social Security is not fully funded? Well, at that point, it's not as if all checks go from $1 to $0. At that point, they could pay about 70 cents on the dollar or 70 cents or 70% of your benefit with no changes made to the program. Now, throughout the course of the presentation, we'll talk about a couple things they have at their disposal, but at MFS, we don't believe we're likely to see a large piece of legislation addressing this until it becomes more mission critical. 2 reasons for that. Firstly, it tends to be the way that our constituents in Washington tend to do things. They wait until the government shutdown is going to happen tomorrow, and the night before or even after a government shutdown typically is when you get bipartisan support. So we just don't think it's likely that we'll see someone in legislation propose a bill that overhauls the program entirely or raises taxes significantly to do so, because it may be seen as political suicide, and they would have to get reelected several times before that problem actually comes to fruition in 2034. We also have to deal with how Social Security legislation can get passed. It's important to note that it cannot be done via executive action. It does take an act of Congress to make Social Security changes into law. Two things that do happen when a change comes. Number one is they grandfather in everyone who's at or around full retirement age. So I'd expect if you're about the age of 55, and possibly even 50, that any change that's made is going to grandfather you in. And so the benefits are going to look a lot like what we're going to run through here today. When it does come time to passing a piece of Social Security legislation, it does tend to be a very bipartisan issue. The reason being is that the number of Social Security recipients in this country, it's a larger number than the than the registered Republicans, as well as the registered Democrats. And we've seen this current administration, as well as the last administration, tout Social Security increases as being a win for their administration. The current Trump administration, with the tax offset for seniors 65 plus, talked about as tax-free Social Security. And then previously, the Biden administration repealed the windfall elimination provision, government pension offset, some of the reductions that were given to Social Security benefits if you worked in the public sector. So with that, we could take a dive into our first topic. That's going to be your retirement benefit. The most important thing that you need to know is your full retirement age. It starts at age 66, as you see at the top of the screen, and gradually increases to age 67, depending on the year that you were born. This is one of the first things that we have available to us when we want to address some of the solvency, is we can push the goalpost back or the full retirement age. This is a program that's nearly 100 years old, and people are living later and later in life with medical advancements. So that's one, again, fix you could see to address the solvency. The last time a change was made was in the 90s, and we're still making our way through the change to the full retirement age. So you can see it's in incremental steps. So when I say, where are you in terms of your full retirement age? Are you younger? Are you at it? Are you older? How much younger or how much older will pertain to benefit like your retirement benefit. When I mean your retirement benefit, I mean that benefit you get for paying into the program for all those years and seeing that line item taken out of your paycheck. To qualify for a benefit, you have to pay in for 40 quarters, and they're going to average your benefit, or they're going to arrive at your benefit estimate by averaging your 35 highest earning years of work. If you don't have 35 years of work, that's okay. They'll input zeros for those years that you don't have to reach your benefit estimation. So if you have 25, there'll be 10 years of zeros, but you really just need the 40 quarters or 10 years of work history to qualify for a Social Security benefit on your own earnings record. Now, throughout the presentation, we will refer to age 67 because this is what most people have as their FRA or full retirement age these days. You become eligible for a retirement benefit on your own earnings record as early as 62. You can see it will gradually increase to your full retirement age amount, FRA, but it will grow until age 70. So a black and white answer as to how do I maximize my Social Security if you're filing on your own earnings is to wait until 70, because you're going to get what's called these delayed retirement credits. You can see it's 8% a year and adjusted for inflation. So when you think about it, you can't really get 8% a year guaranteed with an inflation kicker when it comes to investing in the markets. And my coworkers at MFS, they'd love to be able to sell a product where you can make that kind of guarantee, but you can't make that with the investment products. There is risk out there. This is an 8% increase with the inflation kicker. Now this 8%, it is an annual number, but it's technically calculated monthly. It's just not a nice round number on a month-to-month basis. So I like to say for every 3 months after your full retirement age you wait to claim, you'll see a 2% increase in your benefit amount. The first two questions I always ask a financial advisor or their client when evaluating their specific scenario is, number one, are you working? And number two, are you below your full retirement age? If you're below your full retirement age and still working, there are limits to how much you can earn before Social Security is going to withhold some of your benefits. Think about it. You need to be 66 to be considered fully retired in the eyes of the government. If you are below that age, you're not considered fully retired. And if you're still earning income, are you really retired? So that's kind of the logic that they use behind it in terms of the withholding. So if you're under 67, your full retirement age for the full year in 2026, the earnings limit's going to be 24,480. But there's an important nuance, and that's the first year that you file, that's a calendar year, you use a monthly limit. And so if you filed for the first time in 2026 and you go over $2,040 a month, the Social Security Administration will actually withhold the entire benefit amount. Then when the calendar flips to 2027, it will be an annual number, the 24,480. And that's when the withholding will be $1 in benefits for every $2 you go above that earnings threshold. If you reach full retirement age in the year of 2026, that's when your benefit earnings limits go up. And then once you cross your full retirement age, 67, there are no limits at all whatsoever. You can collect the benefit and continue to work without any withholdings. Again, this is all I always ask, are you working and are you below your full retirement age? If you are below 67 and you're continuing to work, typically the best answer is to continue to let it grow. But I would like to emphasize that claiming Social Security is an incredibly personal decision. Because of that, my recommendation to everyone would be to sit down with the advisor who's invited you here today, Margot, Rob, or Dave, because they can help you out with some of these decisions. Those are going to be the basics of your full retirement age, your retirement benefit, which brings us to our second topic, which is going to be claiming options if you are currently or ever were married. So spousal benefits are going to be available to you even if you've never worked a day in your life. The requirements are going to be these 3 bullet points over here. You have to be married to your spouse for 1 year, and your spouse must be receiving their own retirement benefit if you want to claim a spousal benefit off of them. You become eligible for a spousal benefit at 62, the same age that you become eligible for a retirement benefit on your own earnings record. And this is going to maximize at your full retirement age. That's when you can get 50% of your spouse's full retirement age number. So if you're out there and you're the lower earning spouse, this is a percentage, we'll use the green chart. This is a percentage of the higher earning spouse's full retirement age amount. An easy way to tell if you're going to get a retirement benefit on your own earnings record or a spousal benefit off of a spouse is to take a look at your 2 Social Security statements. If 50% of the higher statement is larger than your benefit at 67, that tells us that you're going to file for a spousal benefit. If your own benefit at age 67 is larger than half of your spouse's, this tells us that you're never going to file for a spousal benefit because your benefit will be higher. The Social Security Administration will only ever give you one benefit. And when it comes to spousal and retirement, they will give you the higher of the two. Remember that your spouse just has to be collecting their retirement benefit for you to get a spousal benefit off of them. So we'll walk through an example with my parents to help illustrate this. My mother was a social worker, took several years off of working to raise myself and my little sisters. So when she goes to file for Social Security, she's going to get a spousal benefit off of my father. So let's say my mother is age 62 and she wants to retire. What are her options? Well, if my father has not yet filed, she cannot file for a spousal benefit, but she can file for her own benefit at 62. She'll get her own benefit at age 62. It's a 30% haircut from her full retirement age amount. Then later on, let's say a couple years later, if my dad or when my dad files, she will get 32 and a half of his full retirement age amount. And so if that's larger than what my mom is receiving those years that my father is not collecting, once my father files, she will see the difference added on. Let's say my mom's collecting $1,000 at 62 on her own, and the spousal benefit at 62 is going to be $1,250. Well, she'll get $1,000 a month until my father files. then she will see the difference added on up to 1250. Because my mom filed at age 62, she cannot get the maximum spousal or age 67 or 50% spousal benefit. Because she files at age 62, she has locked herself into the age 62 percentages for her own retirement benefit and a spousal benefit. This benefit, just like the one we covered before, is going to be subject to that earnings limit, right? That limit of a little over $24,000 a year. One thing I did forget to mention about that earnings limit is that that only counts W-2 wages or earned income. So if you have passive income from a rental property, if you have investment income, none of that will count towards that $24,000 a year figure. And it will also only look at each spouse individually. My mother can file for her retirement benefit at age 62. My father can continue to work and earn as much as he wants. It won't affect her benefit in any way, shape, or form. The only way that would get withheld is if my mother went back to work. Survivor benefits. This is if your spouse has unfortunately passed away. So the difference is that the marriage requirement is a touch shorter. It's 9 months instead of 12. And it also becomes available earlier than a retirement benefit or a spousal benefit as early as age 62. And you can see that the bar charts are a lot higher with the survivor benefit. That's because if you become widowed, you can file off of your own earnings record or that of your deceased spouse. But instead of getting 50% of your spouses because they're deceased, you can get up to 100%. Now, when we did the spousal calculations, the percentages, they were always a percentage of the higher earner's full retirement age amount, right? Those were percentages of my dad's age 67 benefit, regardless of when he applies. This, however, is going to be 100% of, if my dad files early, it's 100% of a smaller number, right? If my dad files late, he files at age 70, it could be 100% of a larger number. This is why, as the higher earner, your claiming decision is a little bit more important because statistically, if both of you are over age 50, one of you will live to be age 90. Growing the larger Social Security check can serve as a parachute or a safety net for both spouses against the risk of living longer in life and addressing some of the higher healthcare costs that are typically related with that. That being said, if you're sitting next to your spouse right now, looking to your left or right, and you don't care about them, claim whenever you want. But I really encourage you to look at this through a we and not a me lens, because think about what leaving behind for a spouse can do. An extra $1,000, $1,200 a month. That's why if you are the lower earner, you have a little bit more flexibility if you want to claim at a younger age, because you can swap over to a survivor benefit later on. Because if you become widowed, you have these two options at the bottom of the screen. You can start with one benefit and swap over to the other. You either start with your retirement benefit if you have one, and can swap over to your survivor benefit later on. That will maximize at your full retirement age or age 67, or vice versa. You can start with your retirement benefit, or the spousal benefit, or survivor, sorry, as early as age 60, and then swap over to yours later on. And as a reminder, yours will grow until age 70. So if you become widowed, I often get asked, hey, what's the best benefit route to go with? There's really not a right or wrong answer, but we are advocates of waiting until you've stopped working and then starting with the smaller of the two benefits, because whichever benefit you don't claim, the other benefit will continue to grow and you can swap over to that one later on. So death is one way that marriages can end. The other is divorce. The big difference between a divorcee benefit is going to be the length of marriage requirement. Remember, for a normal spousal, it's 12 months. For a normal survivor, it's 9 months. To get divorcee benefits, it's 10 consecutive years of marriage. The calculations are all going to be the same. Just remember when we were talking about the spousal benefit with my parents. My dad needed to be filing in order for my mom to get a benefit off of him. That's not the case when it comes to divorcee benefits. They don't want an ex-spouse, delaying claiming to get back at another spouse. The only nuance is going to be if that divorce was finalized less than 2 years ago, you will have to abide by that rule. So if my parents got divorced, my mom could not claim a spousal benefit until either my father has filed for his retirement benefit or until that 2-year window has passed. What about remarriage? Well, it depends who remarries and at what age. So let's start with this middle bubble here. If you remarry before the age of 60, you forfeit all benefits off of a former spouse. But if you remarry after age 60, you're going to forfeit the spousal benefit, but you're going to retain their survivor benefit. And if your ex remarries, that will not affect you in any way, shape, or all. You don't get penalized for them. So again, if you're thinking about getting remarried and you're at or around age 60, think about maybe putting that off until after age 60, because then you're going to retain the survivor benefit off of your ex-spouse. And then once your new marriage has been intact for 12 months, you're also eligible for a spousal benefit off of your current spouse. And so something like that, you could claim off of your own earnings record, you could claim a spousal off of your new spouse, or you could claim a survivor benefit off of an ex-spouse if they've passed away. Should that second marriage end, you become re-entitled to all the benefits of the first marriage. Quick reminder, you do need the 10 years. And if you have multiple marriages that lasted over 10 years, you actually get to choose which ex that you want to file off of. Those are the three main types of benefits you're going to see. It's a retirement benefit on your own earnings record, and then a spousal or survivor if you were married. Which brings us to our last topic, which is taxes. As you're all probably aware in this country, as long as you're receiving income in some way, shape, or form, it's probably subject to tax. The IRS will tax you from cradle to grave. So if you're making more than $25,000 of combined income, if you're single, or $32,000 if you're married filing jointly, a portion of Social Security is subject to tax. It is never all of Social Security. Only up to 85% of Social Security can be taxed, and this uses combined income. What's combined income? Is the formula you see at the bottom of the screen here that seems a little complex. It was made by the IRS. They don't usually make our lives easier, usually a couple more hurdles to jump through. So I'll help break it down. Adjusted gross income. This is a more all-encompassing income number. Remember when we were talking about the income limits? If you're collecting and below 67 or your full retirement age, that only counts earned wages, W-2 wages. So some business owners have some ways around that as well. This will count all of your income. With the exceptions down here, it's going to count non-taxable income if you're using any municipal bonds or tax advantage bond strategies. And then only half of your Social Security counts towards this combined income figure. So ask yourself this question: are you afraid of taxes going up in retirement? The answer to that question is yes. By growing Social Security to be a larger portion of your monthly income in retirement is a way to potentially lower your tax liability, as not all of it can be taxed. So I mentioned some things are excluded. It's, certain retirement accounts, HSA withdrawals, qualified charitable distributions. And this is why, as I emphasized at the beginning, Social Security is really just one piece of your retirement income puzzle. Because oftentimes it's not, hey, which retirement account do we start with first, but how do we maybe take a blend of both to potentially lower our tax liabilities? And it's not unheard of to see someone retire and then draw from a retirement account before claiming Social Security and then swapping over later on. Because remember, after age 67, it's going to grow at 8% a year, guaranteed and adjusted for inflation. That wraps up my comments. I would like to leave you with this. My encouragement to everybody out here today is that Social Security is as much an emotional decision as it is a rational one. Because of that, everyone's scenario is unique. So please take a look at your Social Security and sit down with your advisor who's invited you here today, because they're in the best steps to help you not only with this decision, but really with all aspects of your retirement. I will leave you with the important questions before we open up to Q&A. Number one, are you working? Number two, are you below your full retirement age? And number three, have you coordinated this decision with your spouse? The lower earner has a little bit more flexibility, being able to claim at a younger age because they can swap over to a spousal or survivor later on. And the higher earner's claiming decision can affect both spouses for the rest of your life. Thanks for the time, everyone. I'll pass it back over to Rob to see if there's any questions out there.
Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it. And before we kind of get started with the Q&A, just wanted to make a couple announcements. Again, just as a reminder, this webinar is going to be recorded, and there is a URL there that we are sharing on the screen. So you can go to freedomwealthcoach.com, and under our resources page, we'll have that loaded up there probably within about 5 days, maybe within a week. But this way you'll be able to go back through it. Also, if you're interested in this presentation that was shared today, we have this available to email, and also we have this in a hard copy if you'd like. So if you would like to obtain a copy of this and to even sit down and maybe go through this as again, we would be happy to provide that to you.